Top of the middle of the winter to you boys and girls. We're at the teardown bench right now. We're looking at some of the saws that I'm working on currently. We got a 2100 thin ring version, which they quit making in 1985 as far as I know. And so it's not too bad a shape, but the piston's roached and the cylinder's seen a lot of action since that was 30 years ago. So we're looking for at least a couple pistons to be showing up here next week, and we'll have to mic those against the bore to see if they're within tolerance, I guess. And then we have a MS362C. We're going to be comparing that to a 562XP Husqvarna. Have a lot of information to cover, so we're going to go fast. Here we're looking at start of the intake track. Not good for airflow. We will be modifying that because this saw is going to get insanowized. The start of the intake tract on the Husqvarna is much better for flow in my humble opinion. Kind of allows for a little bit of the back pressure that's coming off when the piston goes down. Pushes a little bit back through the carburetor, and you got a little bit of fuel mixed in with the fresh air charge, so it's not quite completely raw, which I like. Carburetors, they look kind of similar. You can see the fresh air going in on the top of the Stihl. Carburetor off the 562. A little more airflow going through there in my humble opinion. Fresh air charge is going in the bottom. Look at the intake tract, pretty small on the Stihl. You can see the ports right here. Start of the transfer ports. A lot of work to do these saws because they basically like doing two saws at the same time. The Husqvarna is pretty short and sweet, except they went into the manufacturing thriftiness, I guess you want to call it. So they have caps over the top of the transfer ports, which makes it nice in a way because you can get in there and work the whole thing over. But not a lot of flow coming through there, unfortunately, as far as torque goes. Yeah, not super pleased with some of the stuff on both of them. So here we have the reliefs in the back of the piston skirt, which allows the fresh air charge to get in. Big old Mondo dead port in the piston right below the bottom ringland. Surprisingly similar to the 562 situation. Surprisingly similar. Big old Mondo dead port in that as well. You can see we have a regular crank in there, and we have a full circle crank in here. Now the way the flow goes through this saw, it's more like the 461 comes in, rolls around through. We're splitting this one here through the 4, but you can see that the transfer ports are Mondo wide in the 362, which that's going to aid with torque. We're going to have to adjust the transfer ports in the 562 to get the same kind of flow characteristics. And next on the list, we're looking at a X-Torq Husqvarna 372s, hails out of California. You can see real similar to 562. They're kind of a pain in the rear, these new saws, for flow anyway, but got a few tricks. We're going to get that one rolling. And the other thing that's cool we're going to talk about, we have a 357 insanowized, headed out to Michigan when we're all done. We're going to do a little saw-off when we're done with the other two Mighty Mites there. And this is the stock bore size cylinder that came off this saw. And this is the big bore 357, 2mm over bore that I did. About 10 years ago I did a couple of these. I saved this one out. As soon as I find a good bottom end, I'm going to be putting the hurt on this one as well. We're going to hopefully do a little saw comparison testing with the big bore 362 versus the 562. So anyway, just thought it was kind of interesting, the similarities. Oh yeah, and then the fresh air charge coming in on the Stihl. They kind of pirated the concept from Husqvarna, so I guess if you can't beat them, you got to join them. But anyway, head bolts, Stihl, head bolts, Husqvarna, interesting contrast there. So alrighty, we had a little opportunity to check out some saws in the shop. Hopefully everything's going well for all of you. Have a blessed day wherever you might be on God's green earth.